Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we're going to be covering something that isn't whiskey. This is a cognac. It's actually the second cognac I've covered on the channel, and thanks to Hermitage Cognacs for sending this over to me for review. Now, this one here is part of quite an expansive range that Hermitage do. They aim to cover like independent small estates in the Cognac region. Of course, this is a brandy. If you don't know much about what Cognac is, it's a brandy made in the Cognac region. This one in particular is a Grande Champagne, which is actually just south of Cognac, the town itself. There's a little area called Grande Champagne, and then it branches out into Petit Champagne, and then on into other different regions. This one here is a Grande Champagne. Of course, you may have heard the word terroir, which is all about the provenance. You know, the cognac producers put a real emphasis on their terroir and the kind of exactly what their area and what their soil and all the kind of environmental impacts that has on their grapes has on their cognacs. Now, these guys were kind enough to send over a bunch of samples to me. I've got some really incredible ones coming up. I'm going to do a sample Saturday of that in a couple of weeks' time. And I've got things in there like a 1960, which is pretty awesome. This one here is the 2005 release. It's a 40%er, and it comes in at around that kind of £60-65 mark, depending on where you look around. So for me, I have to say it's a little bit more expensive than some of the cognacs I've tried in the past, but I'm really glad to have tried something like this because I'm interested in that sort of thing. I don't cover many cognacs on the channel, but I am interested in trying cognacs off screen. Let's get into this one and see what we've actually got in the glass. It's got a really nice colour to that. This one has had some chips added to it in the barrel process. Now, I know when it's pretty similar how they make it in terms of kind of whiskey manufacturing. It's double distilled, same as whiskey is. Barrel aged, same as whiskey is. This one here has been kind of aged in new Limousin casks, which is a kind of French oak cask, for kind of 6 to 8 months, and then been transferred to old casks for the maturation period, bottled the same as, again, whiskey would be. Now, they make a lot of emphasis here about kind of age on their cognac. They say things like, oh, for such a young age, it's a masterpiece, that sort of kind of thing. Interestingly, because it's around about 10 years old, this thing, I think it was first released in 2015, so yeah, around that kind of 10-year-old mark. Obviously, for whiskey purposes, that is quite youthful, but the kind of cognacs that I've tried in the past have always been, you know, the kind of supermarket releases, the VS, the VSOPs, which are a bit younger than that, although it's usually the case with cognacs that although that's the minimum age, they do have like quite a lot of older spirits in there, whereas obviously that's the same with whiskey as well. But if you get a 10-year-old whiskey, it's very unlikely to have vast amounts of a 30-year-old whiskey in there unless there's something weird going on. But that's kind of common practice with cognacs. There's a lot of older spirits mixing in with these ones here, and I'm given to understand that this is mostly a more youthful liquid, and that it's quite difficult to produce that kind of thing and produce it well. These guys here who have made this is the Chez Richon. Let's show you the back of this label. So, as I said earlier, there you go, just there. These guys, they bottle independently for loads of different estates. One of them is this Chez Richon. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about the actual cognac in the glass itself and get an idea of what we're tasting here. So let's have a go on the nose then. Now, obviously the base, I was going to say grain then, but obviously the base constituent kind of product here is like, instead of a barley, it's going to be a grape. So yeah, you're going to get some kind of winey notes on this. Although the wine is kind of, it really is similar to whiskey, you know, like whiskey starts out as a beer really, and a pretty unpalatable one at that. This is kind of the same thing. It starts out as an unpalatable wine, distilled out. So on top of those kind of winey notes, for me, I'm getting kind of bags of kind of caramel flavours, a load of coffee, dark chocolate, and then some kind of tannic notes like leathery, oaky notes on the back end. It's a really nice nose. It's a little bit sweeter than you kind of would be used to if you're a whiskey drinker like me, but definitely a welcome change. Let's get on to the palate itself. Now again, very sweet indeed. It's not like sickly sweet, but for a kind of avid whiskey drinker, it is a little sweeter than that, and that's something that I really enjoy. when a really sweet whiskey comes my way, I tend to kind of prefer it above some of the other whiskies that I've been trying. So this is a kind of, again, a welcome change for me. Those kind of sweet grape, winey notes coming through with a big dollop of spiciness, kind of nutmeg spice on the back end. Finish is kind of medium. Again, kind of spicy, a bit nutty, and a little bit drying as well. Yeah, really tasty. Now, obviously, I'm called No Nonsense Whiskey, so I don't intend to cover a whole heap of cognacs in the future, but if you want to see stuff like this, then do let me know in the comments below, because I'm interested to know if you want me to try other distilled spirits, because I have to say I am interested. Even off screen, my main focus is always whiskey, but I am interested in stuff like this. I don't really get on well with gins, I have to admit, but stuff like this, cognac, armagnac, brandy in general, kind of getting into it. So if you want to see more of it, let me know. But this is a bit of a winner for me. It's a lot of money. It's up above £60, but not expensive. It's well priced within its range. It seems to be well reviewed. This one's got a award here as well, which is pretty cool. We like that. And generally within the brandy world, it seems, the cognac brandy world, it seems to be quite well regarded. So I'm pretty comfortable with that as a price point, especially when you see some of the other price points that I'll be covering on some of these samples. Some of these more aged cognacs are very expensive indeed, but I'm very much looking forward to trying them. So make sure you hit the thumbs up if you're looking forward to that sample Saturday. I'll do that in a couple of weeks' time, as I said earlier, and I'll be covering sort of 5 or 6 more of these in a bit more of a long form video where I'll go through each one in turn. I'm going to enjoy this. This was a pretty good bottle, and I'm going to definitely enjoy drinking this and hopefully sharing it with people when we're finally allowed to do so. Thanks for watching.